Welcome, I'm Kinetic Symphony. This is Dave. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the supernatural. Case file number 1821, written by babypeach. Heavy boots on a quiet eve, the night we heard what we couldn't believe. Christmas Eve, 3 years ago. I was sleeping at my friend Joe's house because I used to spend Christmases with his family. It was just the four of us. Me in the bedroom right next to the wood staircase, Joe in the room across the hall, and his parents down the hall. His house is a super old farmhouse in the woods in New England, and at night, specifically on winter nights, it was so quiet you can hear a pin drop, besides the distant snores of his mom and dad from their room down the hall. That night, around 3 a.m., I startled awake, feeling unsettled. I didn't know why, and I lay up just staring at the ceiling for almost an hour, listening to the total silence of the house, the faint snoring of his parents off in the distance. I yearned for my phone to distract me from the unease, but it was dead. I didn't have a phone charger, so I lay awake for a long time. Eventually I dozed off again, until I was jarred awake to the sharp sound of a stair creaking. It was loud and slow, with intention. I braced myself, hoping it was just a fluke. But then the next stair creaked, deeply under what was undeniably the sound of a slow, heel-to-toe footstep of a heavy boot. It became clear somebody was in the stairway, trying to creep up the stairs with shoes on. My heart was pounding. It became silent again, like the intruder paused. I didn't want to make a noise to draw attention to myself, but I was in utter fight or flight. I couldn't run and lock the door because there was no lock. So I kept going back and forth between scanning the room for weapons, considering hiding in the closet, or jumping out the 2-story window, but mostly I was frozen in terror. If my phone wasn't dead, I would have called the police. Instead, I grabbed my laptop, which was next to me. I quietly iMessaged Joe a million texts, trying to wake him up. This is our text convo. Me: "Dude, please wake up, I'm freaking out." Stairway creaks. "I think someone is in the house." No answer. Then I realized I could FaceTime him, so I called him. No answer. But the vibration of the call woke him up. He read my texts. "Joe, what's going on?" "Dude, I think someone is in the stairway. I'm freaking out. Listen." Silence. Parents snoring. We're waiting and listening in silence. A heavy boot goes up one more stair. At this point, they're around the top of the staircase, right outside our rooms. "Joe, someone's in the house." My heart is pounding. I hear Joe from the other room rip his door open, fling the lights on, and storm down the stairs looking for the person. He yells, "Get out!" Then he comes back up the stairs, comes into my room and tells me no one was there. No lights were on. His parents were asleep. Nothing was out of place. We're both so creeped out. After the terror calmed, this story just mystifies us. Neither of us believe in ghosts. We have no idea how to rationalize the fact that we both heard someone trying to stealthily go up the stairs in heavy boots. We told his parents the next day and they laughed at us. Another one. A few weeks ago I dreamed someone introduced themselves to me. They said, "My name is Xander. Nice to meet you." I've never met Xander, so I thought it was weird and I journaled about it. The next day, I was at work and met someone who I instantly clicked with. Before he left, he stuck out his hand and said, "Nice to meet you. My name is Xander." Case file 1821. Heavy boots on a quiet eve, the night we heard what we couldn't believe. Okay, this was a legitimate horror story, and I hate it. But it makes sense moving into the fall, eerie spooky October vibes. This is an amuse bouche for the Halloween season. Let's go with that. Well, you both clearly heard the sound. Some force, some matter was there to vibrate the air in a specific way to create sound, that wasn't just in your heads, both of you. Now, the question is, was it just multiverse sight, or was it an actual spirit echo? My guess it was just multiverse sight, because this doesn't happen again. If it was a spirit, usually loops are pretty frequent, like every year at most. They're generally not too long, so multiverse sight, multiverse presence makes the most sense, and if that's the case, you might have been hearing someone breaking in that other universe, right next door, but then the yous over there are in for big trouble. Case file number 1822, written by pretendthisisironic. From hand to storage, they vanished in air. How did my kids' papers end up there? We were moving across the country, paid by employer, from one state where my kids started school in September to one where they started in early August. We were moving into an Airbnb because the home we purchased was not ready. All of our belongings were shipped to the new state. My children were coming into an already started school year, so I diligently packed all of our important documents to fly with me on the airplane. I could seamlessly register them for school immediately after our arrival. I called each school multiple times. One of my children is on an IEP. I had birth certificates, vaccination records, socials, marriage licenses, and a ton of paperwork for the schools. I looked this over dozens of times and protected this folder with my life. When we went to fly to our new state, I had to show my children's documentation to fly with me. This is important. These are my birth children. I have never misplaced one of these documents. We've never ordered a replacement or duplicates. 2 days after arrival is the day we go to register for school. This folder has been in my suitcase since I checked it over and packed it, only being held at the airport. I got ready and the kids got ready, and I picked up the folder and it was noticeably lighter and thinner. I thought to myself, oh freaking god, no, I know their paperwork is gone. And it was. I ripped the Airbnb apart, all of our suitcases, interrogated my husband, called the airline, airport, car rental service, spent the next week getting affidavits, copies from the old school, doctor's office, therapist, specialist, and got them registered. A month later, we closed on our new house, received all of our possessions from the storage company, and start unpacking our home. I write down my children's birthday cards every month after they're born, and then every year or special occasion, I have these items in a box in birds and pearls. The only time I go in this box is after I write a new card or a letter and print out pictures. I had not been in this box for at least 7 months. When I see the box, I think to myself, I bet their documents are in there. The originals that I used to get on the flight would be in this box that has been in storage for over a month. I open the box and on top of all the pictures, cards and letters, are the birth certificate records and social security cards. We have zero plausible guess how this happened. Made everyone in our family a believer in the unknown. I now have 2 of everything, though I used the originals to board the plane. Case file 1822. From hand to storage, they vanished in air. How did my kids' papers end up there? Guarding your papers with your life. I understand that completely. Especially when I was traveling, just on the road on a bike. This was a long time ago, but I first came to the US from Canada when I was 19, I think, and I crossed the border on a bicycle, and I was just biking from the end of Quebec down to New York City. Now, complications arose. It's not an easy trip to make, especially when you're 19 and know nothing. But I did have a big backpack and I had all my documents in it, and I would literally sleep on top of it because I didn't want some random person to come around and just steal it. Because it's a nightmare to go through the bureaucracy of reacquiring all those documents. Did not want to do that. But for these documents to go missing is, again, just too specific for it to be random. Some input was required for those documents to be chosen to be expunged or phased out of reality for a moment of time, and then return later on. So, was it important in your life that you had copies of these documents? Maybe you go on a travel expedition and lose them, and without having them back home, it's too much of a hassle and it sends you into a bout of depression or something. I'm just completely spitballing here. I don't know. And that's the point. These developers or guardian angels, they can try to help us, but it's not like they write down exactly why this is important. It's just something you have to find out for yourself later on. Now, time for the quote of the day. My definition of a free society is a society where it is safe to be unpopular. Adlai E. Stevenson Jr. I would say that isn't the definition of a free society. I would say that's the definition of a society that has potential to be free. As long as you're able to say unpopular thoughts in public, then you have freedom of speech. And if you have freedom of speech, then you're able to contemplate reality openly, and there's feedback in that. And you can reach a point where maybe you do have freedom. So this is the precursor to freedom. A very important step is just talking openly without fear of being kidnapped or assaulted. And I fear these days that we're moving away from that. There isn't generally fear in the US or Canada of being attacked if you express the wrong opinion. Although in Europe now, apparently if you critique immigration in a certain way, they'll actually arrest you. Saw that on Twitter, or X now. And that's just wild to realize. The countries can be so divergent in how much freedom of expression they allow. So if you're in the US, definitely appreciate just how much freedom in that respect you have. And not appreciate in some sort of debt, but just embrace it. It's something that most of the world doesn't have, so keep exercising it. And if you're unpopular, that's okay. Popularity is not the end-all be-all. In fact, sometimes, like Einstein would say, why 100 scientists? Why not just one? Because it's not about popularity. Finding the truth, sometimes, in the first few instances, is unpopular. So be brave and say it anyways. And on the other side of the coin, if you hear an opinion that is unpopular, don't attack the person saying it. Try to mull it over and engage with them. And if they feel unreasonable, then that's fine. Just move on. I kind of do this with flat earth theory, where I'm happy to entertain any idea. I don't think it's true, but it's good that people are willing to express those thoughts or anything, There are things that are so extreme or absurd sounding, like the moon is a hologram. But who knows? I mean, we're here discussing on this channel crazy ideas of glitches in the simulation or that our entire reality is not real. There's a lot of stories that back it up, but they're just hypotheses at the end of the day. So engage with ideas even if they're unpopular. It's just be civil about it. That's all. Can we do that? I hope so. Alright. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.